Hey guys, Robert and Ingrid here, and we're about to see Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the movie. And
I have seen this one before. It was a long time ago, but I have seen this one, and I remember liking it a lot.
This time we're going to have the comics, holding along the comics to see about how things went.
Ah.
Yep. And you can definitely see how much got changed and everything. And hey, when the movie comes out, and the anime, comes out, we can watch that and go over it.
Yeah.
And maybe eventually go over the book.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we'll see you guys on the other end. Hey guys, we just got done with Scott Pilgrim, and it's good. It's still good. I think it holds up to a degree, but not as much as I thought.
Yeah, there's definitely some bits where I can tell it really kind of...
Michael Cera being the biggest one.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the weaker points of the film, though. I confess I wouldn't know how I would fix that part.
I know, because especially hearing his voice in the animated short, it works with the animation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's his face. He doesn't fit what you think as Mr. Cool. He fits Mr. Dork.
Yeah.
But the rest of the cast holds it up.
Yes, very much
so. Elizabeth Winstead, especially as Ramona.
Oh, yes, she was fantastic.
And Ellen Wong as Knives was so adorable. You felt bad for her, didn't you? You're just like...
Oh, yes, I felt...
You wanted to punch Scott.
Yeah, at points. Secondhand embarrassment and secondhand empathy and all that.
And Kieran Culkin was perfect as Wallace.
Oh, yeah.
He's that swarmy best friend who you're just like, he's just going to throw you under the bus if need be. But if you're really going to be hurting, he'll have your back. And you have Aubrey Plaza. You got so many actors. You got Brie Larson, which I still cannot tell that was her. Yeah,
it was just like, oh wow, there's a lot of actors that got a lot bigger later in this movie.
Yep, I know. I mean, especially Aubrey Plaza as Julie. I told you, first but not talked to her. How are you doing? Never fucking mind how I doing it. But yeah, throughout all this, I mean, they got actually a lot of key moments. A lot of stuff they cut was stuff that would have made the movie too long.
Yeah.
Like Lisa Miller, stuff with Knives' father, them going to the beach and everything. Basically, up until Todd, a lot of the important beats stay. Once we get to the twins, and especially Gideon, is when it goes completely in a different direction. But one thing, though, we got to talk about is that this was written before the final book was done. And it shows, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially with Knives. Knives is getting a bigger role. Why? Because Edgar Wright saw this as a case of, yes, Scott's fighting for Ramona, but really he should be fighting for himself and thus getting together with Knives by the end. So he gave her a bigger role. And what's your take on that?
I can see why it would have been a situation that's difficult to thread the needle with. I feel like it kind of works for the theatrical release in its own context, but I understand sort of...
Especially him working...
More of what they were originally going for.
Especially when the two of them took down Getting Together. Okay, Ramona was supposed to be involved with that fight too, but you saw that set. There ain't no way they were going to have a 3-on-1 fight in that. They were barely able to get 2-on-1. Yeah,
though I will say that the fight choreography throughout most of this movie is one of its most solid parts.
Better than any of the Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah, it's just, it's good fun spectacle, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Let's talk about each of the evil exes. Matthew Patel, a good starting villain.
Yeah, definitely a good starter villain.
His demon hipster chicks were pretty smoking, but But yeah, he's that type of that first boss. That's basically what he is, right? He's just that preliminary boss who always goes down the easiest and shows what Scott's capable of. Because even in the comic, Scott being able to fight like that came right the hell out of nowhere. So you would think that'd be bad handling. No, that was what it was in the comic, so it makes sense here. Then you had Lucas Lee. Done by Chris Evans. It was before Captain America, but he was still doing Johnny Storm. What did you think about Lucas? This Mr. Cool, oh, that's the guy, huh? He seems nice. Now in the comics,
I thought he was all right, but not one of the stronger ones.
In the comics, he actually had a good, nice smoke talk, break talk with Scott, and even said, you seem like a good guy. Tell you what, pay me a lot of money, bribe me, and I'll tell Gideon I kicked your ass. No. But that tells you he was the guy who was like, you seem like a good guy. I'm not going to beat your ass. I'll give you a chance. Then you had Todd. Then you had Todd. Todd was a jerk.
Oh, yeah.
Todd was the cocky bastard.
Indeed.
And the fact that he's a vegan, so he's a better than everyone. It's like...
I thought that was a funny play on the stereotype.
It was. He gained psychic powers. But then he was his own downfall. First was what... And that wasn't in the comics, actually. That whole, tricking him. At least not to the same degree. Especially the whole, gelato. Gelato's not vegan. That one you can let slide, right? It's like, you wouldn't think about that. But then when it's chicken parmesan, you're like...
Really?
Chicken's not vegan. It's like, you're an idiot. But in the comics, you don't want to know the step further? Turns out there was another member of the band. Oh, it turns out Todd, making it very clear how shallow he is, was banging her. To the point where then walked right out of the bathroom, her panties were still on his forehead. And NBC is like... And he's like, what? I can't realize they're on there. There's a lot in the comics that I hope is in the animated stuff. But then you had Roxy. What did you think about Roxy? I
thought she was probably the second strongest one next to Gideon, just because they set her up so strongly. And of course, there's a whole Bi-Furious. That one really stuck out.
And I thought that it's like, it was just a phase. Just a phase? It's just like, you see the hurt in her.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, no, I can understand why that would be a berserk button.
Especially, going back to how Mary Elizabeth Winstead nailed it, the whole bit, right before Roxy showed up and after, completely different takes on her. Wouldn't you agree? But my favorite bit has to be, oh, you're an asshole too. Welcome to the club. That was my favorite line delivery from her. Wasn't it yours too?
That was pretty great.
Well, you're an asshole too. Welcome to the club. Just, and then the twins, weakest. No personalities whatsoever.
The spectacle of the fight was pretty cool, but that was about all
unfortunately, the comics was the same thing. They were just tacked on. I think because O'Malley realized, crap, what do I do with them? But Gideon was the best.
Yeah, Gideon was definitely set up well as the final boss.
You see why Ramona fell for him. You could see him as the type who's like, oh, I don't care about her. She wants me. Wait, she leaves me. I want her.
Yeah.
And this just swarmed me like, hey, about the guild. You mean the league? Guild, league, who cares? We're cool, right? You're just like, you want to punch him, right?
Yeah.
You want to punch him, but at the same time you feel like, I don't want to punch him. He can help me. You know what I mean? Yeah. You sell out doing it, but still. But then when he gets nasty, he gets nasty.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, then the fight, the fight and everything, and then Scott getting killed. I do like the whole idea of, it's not about love is not enough. You need self-respect, which Scott has been lacking.
Oh, yes. It doesn't necessarily matter how much you like somebody if you can't necessarily like or appreciate yourself, because then you just leave yourself open to getting walked over by people because you don't see your own worth.
Exactly. Then you had so many other characters, like you had Kim. Kim, I like. What do you think about now, once you know the backstory from the animation, what did you think about Kim and her and Scott's relationship? How it's so clearly again, he left, she's the only one who never got a breakup. It was just simply I'm moving. You're moving. And thus, then they meet up again, and thus she still has that tension there. Hence why she covered it in her snark.
It was some interesting context, but I can't say I feel too strongly about her either way.
Yeah, but did you get that feeling from her acting, or did you just feel like she was just a snarky bitch? Be honest.
I guess she didn't register enough above my level of interest for me to care too much about the details.
Hopefully the anime stuff gets it better. I hope it does, because Kim is definitely a fan favorite. Kim, people really love Kim because of that complexity of her. But yeah, so he beats the exes, and we meet Scott. Perfect anticlimax. Although, I've told you before how it was in the comics. Basically, it's the whole notion that Scott will forget. He would make, if he hurt someone, he'd forget because he can't forgive himself. And that would eventually build up as Scott.
Yeah, I really like that concept that I heard about a lot more than it simply being played as a joke here.
But again, but to be fair though, where else would you have fit it, right?
Yeah,
Scott was so important.
Yeah, I feel like that definitely would have dragged things out a bit too long.
And he already got over the issues that he would have with Scott without Scott.
Yeah.
So it's just basically
it would have just been superfluous.
Yep, but yeah, and then but I do love for the theatrical ending when Wallace first met Knives, he told her you're too cool for him. And what does she say when she tells him to go after Ramona?
I'm too cool for you.
That was great.
That was a great callback.
And again, just so much of this does work, but there's just, it's dated, unfortunately. It was already dated. It was intentional.
Yes,
it's intentional datedness.
Yes, there were definitely many points where I was cringing of like, wow, that's so out of date now. I feel old.
But again, it was intentional, though.
Yes, I know it was intentional.
But, but still, though, I mean, overall, it's the weaker one of these, probably because, I hate to say it, the comic itself is cringy, too.
Yeah, and it's just like, I feel like this originally came out at a time where we didn't have a whole lot of movies that were like this, so it was
the MCU hadn't even started yet, or, it did, but it barely started.
Yeah, it basically had barely started as something that really happened in the movies, so it was kind of just like a case of one of the few options in the niche, and now we have so many much more 13 years later. Exactly.
Plus, I think it's also just, it's stuff that's coming from the book that you can't help. Like Scott dating a 17-year-old. Granted, he's 22, so it's only a 5-year gap, but still, it's just this whole, you scumbag.
Yeah.
You feel that way. And now, granted, that's the point, but that doesn't make it a good thing. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So, but overall, it's of the Edgar Wright quadrilogy we've went over. This would be at the bottom. But number 1, it would go Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, The World's End, and Scott Pilgrim. Mm-hmm. Yep, and I think Simon Pegg is probably what helps with the trilogy.
Yeah,
Pegg and Frost are what made it work.
Those two are like superstars here.
Yeah, I mean, now granted, and again, Cera, he brings it down so much because, again, it's his face. I think his acting gets it through.
Yeah, but it's just like, it's hard to know who else you would have cast as him, so it's kind of like...
I mean, just look at him.
Who else are you supposed to cast?
Exactly. So it's like, yeah, who else are you supposed to cast? And just, how else are you going to play this out, right?
Mm-hmm. It's just one of those situations where you can't really get a perfect fit, so you just have to go for the good enough.
You go with what the creator wanted. Mm-hmm. Why he wanted Cera, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so overall, this was a great marathon, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, had a lot of fun.
A good quadrilogy. Next time you'd be seeing us, we'll probably be going over the My Adventures with Superman, the whole first season. Not today, but...
some point, indeterminate point in the future.
You might be up for recording tomorrow, maybe, on stream?
We'll see.
We'll see. Right. See you guys then.